Okay, so for part A, there's three parts to this, A, B, and C, right? And then, second page, we have scales and modes. Okay, so for part A, we're doing major 13th chords. Now you see they're notated three ways. MAJ 13, capital M 13, and then triangle 13. So that's to show you all three ways it's notated, right? All right, for the first four, we got the instructions are, write the polychord formula, note to build a fully extended major 13th chord, put a major 2 chord over a 1 major 7 chord. What does that mean? What is a major 2 chord? Go to the second degree of the scale, right? And then write a major triad. That's the easy way. Such an easy way to remember it. If you got a G major 7, what's a G major 13? Well, what's the 2 of G? A, so you put an A major triad on top of a G major 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's for the first example, right? So here's G major 7, and then A, C sharp, E, right? There's the notation for the polychord, right? Well, wait, this has a C sharp in it.
That's 13.
That's what?
The 13,
C sharp is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Ooh, sharp 11, right? And why do we have that sharp 11, Jeannie?
so
Because a natural 11,
would be
Ow.
ow, is that Chinese? Ow?
Ow.
How do you say ow in Chinese?
Ow.
Ow, see, it's universal language translator. Ow. The natural 11. What is the natural 11? Here we go. Not quite, huh? Ah. A sharp 11, it makes it a Lydian mode, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a sharp 4, right? Now, that's the basis of like almost all 20th century harmony, and even from the 19th century, or later in the 19th century. 20th century harmony, they go past the ninth, right? Like in Baroque music, they had the 7th chord and occasionally a 9th chord, maybe. It was treated as a non-harmonic tone. And then in classical music, you had a 7th chord used all the time. And you had a 9th used here and there. In Romantic music, 9th chords were used a lot. Romantic era period, right? But no one wanted to dabble with the 11th because you had that weirdish, you know, it didn't make sense to have an 11 in a chord because it sounded like this, right? G, B, D, F sharp, A. Didn't really work. You need to make it a C sharp. That worked. Not until the 20th century did people start incorporating the sharp 11 in the major chords. And it was apparent that what you had to do was, instead of going up in thirds using the C major scale, you had to combine the C major scale with the G major scale, like in the key of C. You had to combine the C major scale with the G major scale, lower part of the C major scale, upper part of the G major scale. In the key of G, you have to combine the G major scale with the D major scale to get the full spread of 2 octaves that has that sharp 11 in it. Because if you use a Lydian mode in G, you have this lower F sharp, which they didn't really do that too much. They went to the regular F, right? Excuse me, that was a C, G, A, B, C sharp. Be a Lydian, right? And then that was a tried and true. And they weren't going to go like this. Only more experimental composers like Ravel, Debussy, Bartok, all those guys that were later on would do the sharp 11 in the lower part of the scale. But the sharp 11 in the upper part of the scale, that's C sharp. Sharp 11, C sharp. Makes it fill out as a major 13 plus 11 chord, right? Does that make any sense at all? So major 13 plus 11, that's for the tonic chord in the key, right? And then the tonic chord in the major key is a major 7, right? What's the 4 chord? The 4 chord in a major key? Major. Triad, are we talking triads? Are we in harmony 1? Major 7, and then major 9. And then what about in the key of G, right? What's the 4?
Wait, you
Are we
started
in
from
G?
F? Yes.
C, right?
C.
So C, E, G, B. Oh, we already have that F sharp in the key of G, right? Aha. It's already there. Oh. So the 4 is actually, it's not a sharp 4 unless you go the full Lydian mode. Does that make any sense? If you're in the key of G, right? Remember that old TV show?
The Adams Family.
Thanks for credit.
Yeah.
Jeannie, do you know the Addams Family?
I've heard of it, but I
You need to research
Oh my
that.
God, you've never seen Adam's Family?
The two shows, the Addams Family and the Munsters.
Yeah.
I've never actually watched it, but I know the song.
Because it plays so
Yeah,
much at
Addams
sports
Family
games, they do it a
started
lot.
They play the Addams
when
Family
I was
sports
Sylvester for
Yeah.
York.
On the organ, like electric organ.
Okay, so these chords, the major 13 plus 11s, you could spell it out just using 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 plus 11, 13, right? And then when you write it out, the quick way is to just plop a major triad on the ninth, right? Or the second, they call it a major 2 chord on this sheet. On the ninth of G would be A, right? You just plop an A triad on top of a G major 7. That's the quick and dirty way. Yeah? Okay, Kate? Yeah, you all right? Now, the notation here just says major 13, but to be more accurate, you always want this on there too, right? To not confuse any of the studio musicians, right? Okay, now, since these guys had this on Friday, you guys are gonna take turns filling this out for a few minutes. Okay, so Kate, take the first row there. So first, what we wanna do is we wanna write the slash chord. Underneath that E flat major 13, write the name of the slash chord, right on the staff there, right there, right there.
Right here?
Yeah. Not so high up, just right on the staff.
Oh, here, like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Frame it up like you're framing a camera. Right in the middle of the staff there. There you go. That easy, Jenny? Yeah? Yeah, F over E flat major 7, right? That's pretty easy, isn't it? So now write the whole chord out. Let's just do 2 and 2. You do 2 and then Jeannie will do 2. Good, next one. So you get a B flat major triad, right? B flat D F over an A flat major 7. Perfect. Okay, Jeannie, next 2. Okay, now I'm gonna need a magnifying glass to read that. You must hate musicians, right? Want to get even with all the people trying to sight read your charts. They have to bring aspirin to read your sheet music. D flat triangle B, what is that?
Yeah, is this triangle a major? Does it
Yeah.
mean major?
But
It looks like the letter B.
Oh, that's a 13.
That's a 13?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now the chord D flat. Now it would be E flat over a D flat major 7, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Right, so instead of E flat over D flat major 13, it would be E flat over a D flat major 7, right, in this slash chord? You notation in the slash chord?
Oh, yeah.
Yay! What do we say when we get it right? Yeehaw! Right? I'm teaching you guys the techniques of being musicians. And whenever you shake somebody's hand when you meet them, start laughing. It throws them off. Okay, D flat major 7, D flat F, A flat C, good. And E flat G, B, good. E sharp, favorite note, yuck. Right? B sharp again, huh? Another E sharp and B sharp, what a nice chord that is, huh? Everything's sharp, right?
Yeah.
Don't cut yourself. All right, did you guys mark your papers? Did you get it right or wrong?
Yeah, got it right.
Got it right? Alicia? Indeed? Okay, put checks next to them if you got them right. Okay, the next four, what do we got?
B major 13.
B, major 13, right? Okay. Kitty. So what are we doing here? We're writing the slash chord first, right underneath the right name of the chord, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way we do that is we put, the bottom chord would be a major 7, right?
Yeah, like that.
Exactly. Pretty quick, huh? Quick and dirty, huh?
There's a pattern to it. So. And then-
B major 7, B, D sharp, F sharp, A sharp, good. And then D, D sharp. And then you need a C sharp over a B, right? Because it's the second degree of the B scale, right? B major scale is the scale, right?
Yeah.
The second degree of B is,
Oh, it's
C
C's.
sharp, C
Yeah,
sharp.
not. Right?
yeah,
Okay.
C sharp. Well, you gotta have a triad, a major triad, so it's gotta be E sharp too, right? There you go. Now, the next one, what do we got there? We got F over, that's a flat 9, the F in the key of E, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be F sharp, like Sharknado. Good for you. And then what? E, G sharp, right? Yeah. Then we got F sharp. Major triad, right? F sharp major.
Mm-hmm.
F sharp to A is minor third, right? Needs to be F sharp, A sharp, right? Is that right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Sit down and digest.
Okay.
Okay, Kate, last two. So you got D, major 13, E, G sharp, and B. Yeah, perfect, thank you. Okay, did you guys get it right?
Yeah.
Okay, now, this is now a moment to pause. Let's have a moment of silence so we can have a memory tribute to Beethoven. Okay, thanks. All right, now, so we're gonna push on into this concept of chord families. The major 13 plus 11 chord, it's chord family 1. The minor 13 chord, it's chord family 2. You can just put a bracket over here, like this, right? Chord family 1, chord family 2, and chord family 3. So chord family 1, 2, and 3 are in the 1 chord, the 2 chord, and the 5 chord. What kind of progression uses that? 2-5-1, right? All day long in jazz, right? 2-5-1, 2-5-1, 2-5-1, or abbreviated 2-5-2-5-2-5, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
2-5s are the staple of jazz. That's like jazz porridge. Actually, people don't eat porridge, do they? What do people eat every day?
Toast and
Toast,
bagels.
bagels, eggs? Everybody eat eggs every day? No.
Bagel.
Cereal? Coffee.
Yes.
All right, we got more eyes for the coffee. We should take to the Senate. So 2-5s are the coffee of jazz, right? And modern music too. 2-5, 2-5, 2-5. If you get these books called the Real Book, 90% of the tunes will be all 2-5s in them. It's really an amazing thing to observe. Okay, so now, chord family 1 is a Dick Grove concept, so we have got some videos on that, but also on the opposite coast, we have George Russell, the educator out of New England Conservatory. That's who Reed studied with, George Russell. And he has a concept called the Lydian chromatic concept. And his chord family 1, he called it, instead of chord family, he called it chord mode 1. Chord mode. That's what Russell's concept is, the same thing. Chord family 1 and chord mode 1. So you got a stack here, right? Grove calls it the stack. We can call it a major 13 plus 11 chord. And then Russell calls it a Lydian chord mode. All mean the same thing. And you'll have some very divisive schools of thought on the Lydian chromatic concept. I mean, he came out with that in the 50s, and it was really embraced by jazz artists in the 60s, especially guys like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter. Lots and lots of jazz guys embraced the Lydian chromatic concept as the new jazz theory for the 20th century. And the reason why, I think, is because jazz was always struggling for legitimacy in the 20th century. Jazz was always, it had to overcome a lot of, frowns from the people with bow ties and suits. And there was a lot of racism, in America in the 20th century. I mean, massive racism. And jazz music originated in Harlem, and before that down in New Orleans, right, down in Louisiana. So it was always associated with black musicians. So there was extreme racism against black musicians. So it wasn't really regarded as a legitimate form of music by most classical people, because it was, racism, plus the blacks were doing it, and they were doing all this weird stuff, and they had these radical tribal sexual rhythms and all kinds of stuff was going on. Okay, so what are the terms? We got chord mode, Lydian chord mode, chord family 1, and also the stack, the major 13 stack, that's what it's also called. Major 13 plus 11 chord. But we got a major triad over a major 7 chord. Now, how easy is that to play? So we have chord family 1. The Lydian chord mode. So all of these concepts, the chord family 1, what's one called the stack? So here's what happens when you got a chord mode or a major 13 plus 11. You got, what key we want to use? Let's use, what do we like, C? I love that sound of that. All right, C, help me out, C, E, G, B, D, F sharp, A, and then C on top, right? So C major 13. And there's your C Lydian chord mode for George Russell. So now, here's what we do with it. We break it up into subsets. And these are called, this is the big concept. Plural interior chords. So let's do triads first. We got C, E, G, E, G, B, G, B, D, B, D, F sharp, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, A, C, and then we have A, C, E. So what do we got here? We got C, E minor, G, B minor, right? And then D, and then we got F sharp A C. We got F sharp what? What's F sharp A C? You want? F sharp A C, what's that? F sharp A is a minor third, and
Yeah.
C is a what? Flat 5, right?
Flat 5.
Minor third, flat 5 means what?
Diminished or diminished?
No, triad is diminished, right?
Yeah, diminished.
Okay, and what's the symbol for diminished?
Circle.
F sharp sun, right? Or
Yeah.
F sharp moon, right?
Yeah.
Depends on, are you a morning person or are you a night person? So that's to be decided by the individual. You know that and I know that. All right, next one, ACE. What's that?
It's F sharp.
Yeah, you know, I've only been doing this for 42 years.
It's too early in the morning.
It is, huh? No, it's just, whatever time of day it is, it's too early, huh?
Yes.
Okay, last one, ACE, right? Ace. When you say ace, what do? Ace. Yeah, you're gonna make a fist. Whenever you say the word ace, you take a step forward, ace. And when you say it, you land your right foot at the same time as you say it like this, ace.
Deuce.
Okay. Are you notating this? Where's your music paper? Music major?
I left it in
You left it in what, in Utah?
yes.
Anybody got a spare?
Well, I have, you can see it.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
It is allowed.
To write it by hand? No, this is a music class in the upper level harmony 4. You're supposed to have music paper.
Oh, one day I forgot it, I need it. Oops.
Anybody got spares they can offer?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a tear, oh, you got a perform surgery. What you do when somebody doesn't bring a piece of paper and you loan them one, just to prove your point, before you give it to them, you crumple it up and hand it to them.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
You owe me one. You owe me one.
Okay, so those are the plural interior chords for triads, okay? So, what can we do with those chords, man? What can we do with those chords, man? Huh? C, E, G, E, G, B, G, B, D, right? B, D, F sharp, D, F sharp, A, F sharp, A, C, A, C, E. Alright, so now you're gonna see some action here where you got, in music, you're gonna see C as your bass note. So a C chord, you don't need to write it any other way than just C, right? And then you've got another, the first plural interior chord is E minor. What's E minor over C? Well, we don't really need to write that as a slash chord because it's a C major 7, right? Well, here we go. G, B, D. Now there's a really popular pop chord, a G over C, which is a C major 9, right? Here we got B minor over C, right? Aha! That has the sound of a sharp, major 13 sharp 11, or major 9 plus 11, 9, 7, 9, 11. We got B minor slash C, right? What's the next one? D major slash C, right? Starting to hear these chords in pop music sometimes? Todd Rundgren, you know, Steely Dan. All those guys use these kind of chords. And then D, F sharp, A, C. And A minor. A minor over C. Okay, so you get some slash chords going on where you don't have to play the whole chord to imply it. Now, acoustically, when you're writing parts, when you play the big 13th chords, all the notes, you know, like this, that's super dense, isn't it? That's like thick. Where you may just want this. Or you might just want this. I've heard songs that do that. So, when you're playing these triads, what's the one number thing, the number one thing, the one number thing, the number one thing, which one is it? Number one thing, right?
Yeah.
What happens when you write a triad for a string section? And they're all sitting next to each other, and they're trying to play a triad. They play more in tune, because they're all hearing that triad, right? So people write triadically, and to get the big polychords, or the big stacks, we do slash chords, right? Or polychords, chord on top of chord, or chord on top of bass note, right? So now, if you have a slash chord, a triad over a bass note, there's like a space in between, right? Like if I'm playing D over C, there's all this. All those notes in between. So people use that space to put melodies in there. So polychords are great for songwriting because it frees up singers. It frees up singers when they can sing a melody that's in between the two, the chord and the bass note, right? Whereas if you were to play a complete stack, that's dense. I mean, people do it in jazz, but I mean, it's like usually it's mostly just like slash chords whenever you play a chart in a studio, it's usually all slash chords, you know? Usually polychords aren't played unless you've got a specific piano part that the guy who wrote it is a real good virtuoso pianist and he wants the piano player to play with both hands on these chord stacks. So that's the plural interior chords. So now, the next technique is you got the plural interior chords, right? You got C, E minor over C, G over C. Do that E minor over C again. C major 7, G over C. You put it an octave higher. How many pop songs? It's a G to an F. And I can hear Todd running around. Anyway, so you've got all these chords. You've got C, E minor, G, B, D major, F sharp, finished, and A. So all those plural interior chords are used against that C, right? But what's to prevent you from using the other notes in the scale for the bass note?
I didn't get that.
Who's that? What do they call it? Alexa?
Siri?
Siri? What's your third one?
She didn't get that.
What's the Amazon Fire one?
Alexa,
That's all.
Alexa? What's Echo? What's that one?
the same thing as Alexa. Echo and Alexa are the same thing, so if you have someone in your house named Alexa, you can call it Echo.
You just have two names to pick from.
I think you could actually change it to whatever name you want. But
What about Vladimir Putin?
um,
Chris singing French, I see.
Okay, so what was I saying about the slash chords?
You said, what's to stop you from using that?
What's to stop you from using other bass notes? Unless someone's holding a gun to your head, and even then, you don't care, do you? So we open up this huge world of interesting chords by playing the stack, figuring out the plural interior chords as slash chords, right? Or polychords. I mean, you could have a B minor over a C, right? Two triads, right? So you have a B minor here, B minor over C is the major to 9 plus 11. Or just B minor chord over C, right? So what if I change the bass note to one of the other notes in the scale? Here's D, here's E. Now here's F down here. Doesn't work, F sharp. That's good. G, A, B. C. So it opens up all these other chords by changing the bass note around, and your source is the C major 13 plus 11 stack. Okay, so the next plural interior chords are based on 4-note chords instead of triads, so we have a different batch. So for here, I'm gonna move the slide so. So we've got our stack. And then we have this C major 7, got E what? E what? Minor what? And then we got what? Because it's that, right? So what is that? The F sharp makes it a major 7, right? G7's what? Gebühr, right?
Mhm.
You're supposed to name your firstborn Gebühr, right? Only he'll understand when he's 21. All right, G major 7. Now, what's bid 5? What's that? B, D, F sharp, A. B minor 7, right? And then,
D7.
come on there. Can't you control your hand anymore? What's the matter? I hate people that like, who own businesses that have to write you a check for some work you did and they don't wanna write a check, they write it real sloppy and then they tear the checkbook out of their checkbook and it's like, the top half's torn off, take it to the bank and the teller gives you a hard time about it. Alright, F sharp. And what's that? F sharp what? F sharp A, C, E. F sharp minor, what? 7, flat 5, right? Shh. Don't want to disturb the crickets, right? What's the alternate name for F sharp minor 7, flat 5? Half diminished, and what's the third one?
Major or
Saturn 5, right?
Yeah.
Saturn flat 5. F sharp, Saturn 7, right? Or just F sharp Saturn, right? That explains everything. This symbol, that's half diminished, right? And there's no half diminished triad, is there? It's a fully diminished triad, right? So that implies a 7th chord all the time, right? So you really don't have to do this, but people do all the time because it's more clarification. And the last one's A minor 7, right? Okay, so same concept holds true. You've got C major 7 over C. You got E minor 7 over C. You've got G major 7 over C. B minor 7. Then you got a D7 over C. F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And you got your A minor 7. So let's take the C major 7. And if you got C in the bass, what's the next? D in the bass? C major 7 over D. C major 7 over E. Now, here's F. That's kind of a nice sound, huh? C major 7 over F. How about G? Over A. B. It has a nice color to it. Like you see. So these are some of the ways and techniques that composers use to get more chords in their songs out of trying to come up with more interesting chords. You take a stack, chord family 1, leading chord note, and then you separate out the chords inside by making plural interior chords. And then you have slash chords that you can use against the tonic. but you don't have to stop with the tonic. You can go to any one of the notes in the scale. Or, the next level, you don't have to use any of the notes in the scale. You can use chromatic notes. And then you get some really weirdish, hideous-ish, is that a word, hideous-ish?
Mhm.
Hideous-ish-nish. I just invented a new word, no. You could get some pretty strange chords when we've been using chromatic. Let's go back to triads. We got C over C, C over D, C over E, C over F, C over G, C over A, C over B, C. Now let's do chromatic. We got C over C, C over C sharp, C over D, C over D sharp or E flat. Oh, C over E, C over F, F sharp, C over G, C over G sharp. Oh, I've heard that before. C over A, C over B flat. C over B, C over C. Okay, now, what if we took a major 7? So we got C major 7, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G, A flat, right? G, B flat, B, C. So that's stepping into more chromatic harmony, isn't it? When you're taking the chords out of a stack and then instead of just using one of the bass notes that it's in the scale, the diatonic scale, you step out and you start using chromatic notes as a way to discover some chords that you might want to try in your composition, right? You may want to just use a bass note, a chromatic bass note, as a passing tone to a resolve of one of the scale tones, right? That's the common way to do it, is to use a chromatic bass note as a passing chord. But a lot of jazz guys will take a chord and use chromatic bass notes just for the tension of it, and then resolve it to another chord. Now, the next concept, I don't know if we have enough time.
We have like 2 minutes.
The next thing you do after you create the plural interior chords is you use all the inversions of the interior chords to get your harmonies. So each chord's got an inversion. Okay, so we got the plural interior chords for triads, the plural interior chords for 7th chords, right? And then you can invert them, use inversions of those to get a whole nother batch of harmony just based on the one major 13 plus 11 chord in the stack. Chord family 1, Lydian chord mode.